And welcome back for week two. This week we'll be going over the advertising landscape. And as a reminder, your peer replies are due this week as well. So please submit those. They are due the 13th. So please have them beforehand. Again, you have to reply to one or two of your fellow students' posts from the prior week. Don't reply to your own, obviously, and it should be between 150 words thereabouts. With that, if you agree, disagree, or whatever your opinions on that as well. So, without further ado, we'll jump into this week's uh, lecture regarding the advertising landscape. So, obviously, we kind of spoken about the integrated marketing communications, and now we're going to really be talking about the landscape. Gave you a quick overview last week, and this week we'll be talking about a little bit of a landscape out there. So, last week we defined what the marketing communications are of the marketing mix, what marketing channels are, and why consistency matters across channels, and then introduce you to key stakeholders, the client, agency, the media owners, and also the consumer. This week, we're going to be looking to see what new directions are out there and some industry practices in the marketing communications overall. So, we're going to be talking client side versus agency side, independence versus digital, native, creative economy and new media, holding companies, ad tech, AI, of course, and cookieless solutions, and lastly, careers in the industry, or current careers in the industry, I should say. They are ever evolving, so I want to keep that in mind there too. So, right now, the industry really connects three sides, if not more, with that. You need to communicate, agencies, and the platforms that build all the places together. So think of the sides of the triangle from communications, agency, and platforms to help bring that all together. The media technology carries it to the audience, and hopefully the audience will respond to it in kind as well, either from a branding perspective or from sales or consideration for that matter too. So understanding how these all pieces fit together is a foundational part of this course. And it's also a foundation for marketing overall. So as I kind of mentioned prior, there are at least two different sides: client side and agency side. I've actually been on both. Truth be told, I prefer I do like the client side a bit more, but you get more exposure on the agency side, meaning you get to do different things, different clients, different goals, I like to be busy. I like to keep busy. I like to challenge myself. Agency side does provide that for me. Client side's great because you really work on one or two products and helping to build that out there too. So you own the brand, you own the budget, you set the goals, you approve the strategy, and you have relationships with the internal stakeholders out there. On the agency side, you are employed by clients out there to help develop strategies and creative and media as well, bring specialized talent across client, and then partnerships against a fragmented landscape. On the client side, you normally work with an agency partner. On the agency side, you normally work with the client partner. So definitely is two sides of the coin. As I mentioned before, client side much more focused on either one or two brands or product, and then the agency side is definitely more of a media-centric type of thing. So while client side, you really don't spend as much time as you think advertising. Well, on the agency side, you spend a lot more time and effort on the advertising end of it. So that's really two ends of the spectrum out there. So there are different types of agencies too. Full service, meaning they are able to service from client services all the way through to media, advertising, creative, all other good like that as well. Creative boutique are normally smaller agencies that really specialize in creative and audience insights. Media agency, the ones I normally work with, or work for that matter as well. They do planning and buying and implementations of across different media channels. And then you have some specialists from the digital and social side that focus in on really on those particular platforms, much more on social end recently. Prior it was mostly digital, but now it's definitely more holistic on the digital and social end. So it's different type of buckets out there. I'm sure you're probably much more familiar with the digital and social agencies, but there are different types of agencies out there too. What we've seen, and historically it seems that matter as well, there's been a lot of companies that are holding companies that are really taking over and making the ad industry much smaller. So right now, 5 major holding companies own most of the overall bigger agencies. So think of Omnicom, WPP, Dentsu, Havas, IPG. Those are all becoming much smaller in that respect. Well, they're getting much bigger, but the competition gets much smaller because they're all becoming part of one bigger agency. So it's consolidation and reshaping of Madison Avenue to be much more with that. And we'll return to consolidation later on this week, as I'll show you. But from where I stand and where I've done, being in the industry as long as I have, this is very something that happens every 5 to 10 years, where the bigger companies take over the smaller agencies, and they kind of grow in that respect, and then they kind of smaller agencies come back out some way, shape, or form, or new agencies are created. What's different about this time around is that the bigger agencies are taking over other big agencies or other big holding companies. So it's becoming much more consolidated at a larger level compared to historically. So it's a little different, but we'll speak about that a bit later. So independent agencies and digital native agencies, all small agencies, what I normally like working for, they compete, on culture, being quick to adapt, and having some specialization. So being a digital first and being fast or first to market is very helpful in that respect. So you can turn stuff around very quickly. You can, be very involved from, actually implementation on the platforms itself and working directly with those too. So it's a platform expertise rather than traditional media, which is where I currently am and where I feel most comfortable doing with them as well. So independent really means fast decisions, deeper specializations, and normally a closer client relationship because you are very much a one-to-one and you're normally dealing with a smaller client, but also a small agency. So a smaller team, so you actually know the people who are doing all the work there. So it kind of gets a little bit, in my respect, you get a little bit better service in that respect. In-house agencies or client-side shift, with the platforms being mostly self-service, think Google, think Meta, think TikTok, most of this can be turned internally. So if someone who worked in the agency prior can really handle a lot of these things on the agency side, on the internal agency side. So really some clients are really taking everything internally from a cost and efficiency standpoint because they're internal, so they should know the brand a bit better than anyone else, and they're able to move faster, control cost. While it doesn't eliminate the need for agency partners, it does change the ask when it works with some agencies. So you may want to question yourself, what should stay in-house and what should still benefit from an outside partner? For me, I think personally, being too close to the material, being too close to the product itself, you have a bias already into it. And the reason we do advertising and marketing and media is really the research and looking to understand what works and what our potential clients are, not just people who are currently our clients. And I think if you're too close to it, it does hurt what your brand is. Really stymie your growth and doesn't allow you to explore new avenues out there. So that's kind of the some of the drawbacks from the in-house side, in my respect. And there are definitely key trade organizations I want to make you aware of. And these are all clickable links. ANA, the Association of National Advertisers, 4As, and IAB. So if you look at ANA here, I believe FIT, you have access to it. I'll have to get back to you on that one. But you can see here, they actually have some school and some leveling with that as well. So you have some events and you have some training. You do some certifications. This is not free though, but I think we have something with FIT. Can't recall off the top of my head. 4As is a great research tool out there. Where you can start bringing up some, looking at some data. Have some free courses for that matter. Research. Last but not least, IAB, which has really taken a step up since digital has really come around. So, all different aspects of the podcast up front, creative work, and all these other marketing research and insights out there that's available for you all, for us all, I should say. Looking at digital ad spending report down to AI ad gap widened. So a lot of data available to all of us that I want to at least make you aware of. And if you want to start looking into these things, media posts is another one. But these are like the major ones, and then it kind of starts subsections from there too. As I mentioned, some trade press that's staying current. Ad Age is definitely another one. A lot of these are subscription based. Unfortunately, with the passing of the Hannah Panettiere, how should brands respond to that? And it kind of gives you a quick once over. You may get a couple free articles out there. Like anything else, they want to make sure you're paying for subscriptions. But you can see how a lot of ads, not ads, but also a lot of our industry is kind of leaning into research and looking to understand how everything works. DigiDay is another one. Getting too many tabs open here, sorry. Future marketing. So a lot of future marketing out there. And then Campaign is another one. Another showing you what's going live in conferences and everything else that's happening out there. And of course, not always good news either. XWPP executive claims Sony probe found $350 million in client rebates retained. So there's a lot of money sometimes changing hands, and that's why some of the bigger agencies, people feel more comfortable dealing with that. But you can see here, it's not always the best thing. So I would recommend looking at these, not consistently, but definitely looking at them on a fairly regular basis, see what's happening out there, see what's happening with agency, media, and marketing tech out there too. And we'll talk about the trade press event for this week's discussions as well. Programmatic and ad tech. This is something that's been growing and it's only gotten bigger. Some of the mid to bigger agencies use their own programmatic thing, meaning they just use a lot of data to help targeting any capabilities out there for real-time auctions, for digital ads, and it really does replace a lot of the manual optimizations out there. So that ad tech stack is sit between advertising audiences and with optimizations that can happen much quicker than before. And creator and influencer economy continues to grow. Brands are increasingly, planning for the creative partnership as distinct discipline. Casting, briefing, measurement. I've used it for some of my clients as well. It's definitely a bigger labor cost involved, but like I said, one of the downfalls of being too close to your brand sometimes is you kind of take for granted. So it's good to work with an influencer. One, they know their audience and what they want to hear and how they want to hear it, and two, giving a different view on your brand that you may not be aware of, and it does help bring that up there too. So working with the creator does help, or an influencer, to kind of bridge that gap a little bit more. Retail media networks, for those of you who've been out and about, be it from a retail store or their own apps, sites, whatever the case may be, they use their own shopping data. If you've been to Walmart, if you've been to ShopRite, if you've been to Old Navy, Starbucks, wherever you've been, it's one of the fastest growing categories out there. As you can see here, from Kohl's to Chewy to CVS, Home Depot, Stop and Shop, all these different brands out there have media networks. And of course, the biggest one, no surprises here, Amazon. Well, we don't normally think about it that way. Amazon has their own advertising platform, helping to reach those people out there. So we are informing it every time we use the app or we do any shopping on there too. So think about all the data Amazon does have on us, from your credit card information to your shopping list, to how often you purchase something, how much you're willing to spend, if you're a Prime member, so on and so forth. Your credit card info, all these things out there. This is all data points that are being used at any given time, and this is really the networks that are fighting over a very small part of it, where Walmart, Amazon's the bulk, and then Walmart is the other sole. At 8% is the other biggest share, combined with everything else. So how did it really work? So retailer has access to first-party purchase data. So if you have the Sephora app, or if you have the Amazon app, you log in, obviously you create a shopping list, you do buying, whatever the case may be. They use that data to design targeted ad campaigns. You may see the ad someplace else on your social media, or your Amazon ad, whatever the case may be. And you either go from make a purchase to order data, and using those insights to help build that up. And then obviously the cycle continues with that. And the ad revenue, product sales continue to increase. So this little diagram here goes from left to right, down, left, up, and then constantly being updated. So it's very cyclical in that respect. That's how really the retail media networks work. Not to be outdone, viewer shifts from traditional broadcast to streaming platforms. I finally made the jump and cut the cable cord. Streaming services, these are no different. So if you're going through your Apple TV on your Apple app, and you're paying your bill on your Apple phone, whatever the case may be, or you're getting Netflix through that, or Prime Video. These are all different data points that are helping build that up, different consistency and different platforms to help get more data on when you're watching and how you're watching it, being on streaming services or connected devices out there. So again, more data being fed in there too. And then AI, not to be dismissive of it, but AI is really good at matching things with that. So they do help in the buying tools right now. And a lot of the social platforms or the buying platforms are leaning heavily into AI right now because they're really good at matching things. So if they saw you purchased, it's like on Amazon, they're able to say, okay, this person purchases something on Amazon every 3 to 4 weeks, and this is their typical purchasing cycle on this, on that, on the other thing. And they kind of help build up that purchase cycle with that. But like I said, it's about repetitiveness. It's about, learning what it really knows. It doesn't know what it doesn't know. Meaning, if you change your habits, or you no longer use that shade of makeup or shade of lip gloss or whatever the case may be, it won't know that until you introduce that into it. So that's where it kind of gets a little bit cyclical. So the more data we feed into it, the better it is. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in that respect, that we're kind of using AI to our own detriment to a point. So we just have to learn to adapt and use it as a tool rather than just being the end-all be-all, and helping to guide it properly and make it learn better, unfortunately, but it's a reality we have to deal with. And then, how it really, it really is part of everyday marketing right now. From Obviously, online advertising, personal experience, chatbots. I don't know why that gets spelled wrong. Predictive analytics, web design, content generation, content curation, email marketing campaigns, voice search optimization, e-commerce. Think of all the things out there that it's currently working on right now, and to continue to help build that out. So it's really integrated. Like I said, it's already integrated within Google. It's already integrated within Meta, TikTok, so on and so forth. And it's only going to be further integrated going forward. So with all this happening, of course, privacy can be an issue. That's why a lot of people are moving towards first-party data. Why the shopping, all the retail networks are really going to first-party data, because you are giving consent. Once you log in, you are giving consent out there. So we're able to get new messaging procedures, compliance. Is now a strategic consideration, not just a legal one. Because you're saying, I am willing to accept marketing messages from this vendor and his partners out there. That's what we're doing. We're signing up for Amazon. That's what we do. We sign up for any of these shopper programs out there. So not just measuring, or giving us coupons, but measuring when we buy something, how often we buy something, and then where we buy something, and developing messaging strategies against that. But it's become a one-to-one type of thing versus a mass advertising thing. So why are these holding companies merging? Because of all of these AI capabilities and everything else becoming very duplicative out there. Since they're overlapping agencies, the kind of the thing we always say is like, excuse me, operating to a single structure for more efficiency, to more effectiveness, and everything else out there. But it's really about getting rid of duplication and unfortunately becoming less competitive. So there's going to be fewer larger agencies, but there's going to be larger digital tech-driven platforms, which kind of take away the, I won't say fun, but definitely part of the marketing that helps develop our targeting strategy. But, I know DEI has kind of become I'll say dirty word, but kind of not in vogue anymore. But the agencies and partners that you work with, you still want to have representation out there. So you want to have the diverse audiences that they serve, and to help represent your clients and your agencies out there too. So they have been regular agenda items. That's kind of taken a step back a little bit, but it definitely is still something to keep in mind, because you want to make sure that if you're advertising, gender specific products or anything matter, you want to make sure you have some representation out there. So it's kind of want to make sure that you're still representing and you're still not just being siloed or laser focused on what the data is saying, and understanding how people are really consuming your data, consuming your media, consuming your messaging, and helping to bring that up too. And then now we have a lot of choices. So sustainability and purpose-driven marketing is helping. So I've seen it gone to the other way, where it's kind of, I would say joking, but like McDonald's and the paper straws. I get it, but you're serving it in a big cup, big plastic cup. It kind of defeats the whole purpose of a paper straw. But that's just me. But if it's like a vegan leather or non-animal testing or anything else like that, you want to make sure, if you're going to be socially responsible, that that you can build on loyalty with that, and that you're actually being ethical and what you say with that too. So you want to demonstrate value, have your sustainability, being socially responsible or transparent with your resources, anything else out there. It's not just about getting the right messaging, but actually the whole mindset and making sure your company is behind that as well. And here's some current roles and pathways from account management. Really the relationship between the business strategy and agency, the client agency. Creative being the concept and copywriting. Media and data is where I kind of live, with planning, buying, and analytics. And strategy is kind of all tied together with the median data, in my opinion, insights, positioning, and planning. These things, really are typical agency media strategy, and even account manager. Sometimes all three of these kind of all fit together, and creative is becoming one of the things where AI is getting into a little bit more, unfortunately, but it's the reality we're dealing with. So we continue to evolve and adapt with that, but it is something to keep in mind going forward. So for this week, respond to the discussion post with at least one example. I would say maybe not at least two, but definitely at least one with that, and I'll change it on the deck here. But that's what I have for this week. Thank you all, and I will talk to you all next week.